when you ask people whether they consider their prosthetic device a part of themselves, most of them don't. My name is Shreya Srinivasan, and I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the MIT Langer Lab. Today there's a considerable separation between devices in the body, but as the communication gets more seamless, it's plausible that there will be a greater sense of embodiment.
Human augmentation within the field of prosthetics has expanded drastically in recent years, but many roadblocks are still in place. The seamless connection between man and machine is a puzzle that scientists and engineers have been trying to piece together for ages. But why is it so important?
They can't feel when somebody touches your prosthetic hand. And feeling is fundamental to our existence.
Let's take a look at the numbers. Currently, there are roughly 2 million amputees in the United States, with over 180,000 amputations happening each year. Of the 2 million amputees, 1 in 5 reject their prosthetic device. That rejection rate has barely changed in the last 25 years. So, if prosthetics have made massive leaps in functionality, then why did 20% of amputees still reject them? Well, it all starts with the amputation surgery, a surgery that hasn't really changed since the American Civil War.
The surgeon would go in, make a circular cut at the site of amputation, and basically wrap all the muscles, the bone, the nerve, inside the skin, with no effort to reconnect any of the relationships. And what do we see in the current day? The exact same thing. Ladies and gentlemen, in nearly 200 years, the amputation surgery hasn't significantly changed.
The ability to sense and to feel is critical to a person's well-being, and yet, the current surgery doesn't preserve any sensory feedback.
If we think about redesigning the body at the time of amputation more strategically, reconnecting the neuromusculature that is normally just severed and kind of ignored in a more meaningful way that makes it ready and feasible for it to communicate with robotic devices, that this could actually lead to better outcomes for patients undergoing amputation. Think about amputation not as a last resort or salvage, but as an opportunity to reconstruct the body and make it better and bring back functionality.
Compared to the surgery, the prosthetics have seen tremendous growth. Materials and functionality have evolved. Early peg legs made of wood and metal have become sophisticated machines integrated with microprocessors, allowing for much better mobility.
When I think about moving my legs, neural signals from my central nervous system pass through my nerves and activate muscles within my residual limbs. Artificial electrodes sense these signals, and small computers on the bionic limb decode my nerve pulses into my intended movement patterns.
But in order to interface the human body with these new prosthetics, the amputation paradigm must change.
There are a lot of very nice devices out there, prostheses, but not a lot of patients use them because the connection between the human body and these prostheses is not that intimate. They have a hard time getting signals out from the body to communicate and command the prosthetic device, and then more importantly, receive sensory feedback about what that device is doing in space, what it's coming in contact with, etc.
This sense of space is called proprioception. It's what allows your body to interact and move within a space without even thinking about it. The new amputation preserves the nerves, which allow communication between the brain and the muscles.
And so we're going from a position in which there's been trauma or an injury, and you're just trying to restore functionality. And then after restoration, there's of course a point where that innovation can be used for augmentation.
So, full biological function may not be able to be restored in the near future, but prosthetics have long been augmented to allow users specific functions, like riding a bike, carrying a heavy load, or even running in the Olympics.
They call him the Blade Runner. Born with deformed limbs, his running blades may be the most controversial pieces of equipment in sports.
And Malango too for South Africa. Whitehead way back, but now they straighten up. Whitehead hitting the front for Great Britain in the London Stadium when he won the Paralympic title. Here we go again, 23-28. Whitehead, gold for Great Britain.
fully replicate what an arm or a hand can do, that is very, very difficult. So everyone is talking, okay, playing the piano. And then I lecture a bit about this. I say, okay, I can't play the piano, so for me it's not a big deal. But to replicate that is very, very difficult. You see what the skilled musicians can do with their hands. But what we can do, we can do a lot of stuff, and we can, in principle, from a more technical perspective, we can add features that you don't have in your hand. We can have cameras you can see around corners. You can have strength, and you can withstand, high temperature and stuff like that. So we can compensate in other ways.
So playing piano with the prosthetic hand may not be around the corner. But what about other instruments?
My name's Jason Barnes. I'm a producer, drummer, and collaborator at Georgia Tech. In 2012, I was involved in an electrical accident at work. It resulted in me being hospitalized for about a month, and then ultimately the amputation of my right hand. I started playing drums when I was like 15, and I never had a drum kit. My parents, I guess, got sick of it, and they bought me a drum kit for Christmas one year. And the first day I got it, I was like, this is pretty dope. Like, this is what I want to do,
After the amputation, Jason created his own drum prosthetic and then went to school to study drumming. A later collaboration with a team from Georgia Tech developed a highly advanced drum prosthetic.
To me, I'm like just a musician trying to get back to what I'm doing. It's not like a gimmick thing for me. I'm not trying to be this cyborg drummer.
Patients really have a long way to go in terms of regaining their full functionality. There's still, a significant portion of the mountain to climb, so to speak, to reach a state in which we're super functional and even augmenting the human.
The widespread use of advanced prosthetics is a complex and slow-moving process of trial and error. But the future of these devices is bright. Perhaps one day these prosthetic limbs will surpass the capabilities of a biological extremity. Would you be willing to upgrade your body with the new limb?
I would definitely consider getting that prosthetic limb, even if it means removing my biological limb.
I've always said you can go ahead and chop off my arm for science if you're going to give me a cooler, better cyborg arm. I'm one of those people, so guinea pig me up.